So, if you were a teenager or older in the early 2000s, you probably either participated or knew someone who did participate in the infamous well, I guess it would be just total digital piracy, whether it was Napster or the very popular LimeWire. Um, I mean, there's a whole bunch, just and then the plethora of peer-to-peer torrent stuff, all that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's been around basically as long as the internet's been around. And with a lot of recent stuff that's happened in gaming, I would say in the world of video games recently, kind of want to talk about, uh, in a way, I mean, depending on how you look at it, or I guess if you're bare bones looking at it, obviously piracy is again, well, it is illegal. It's against the law, and it's obviously stealing things. Piracy. That's what it is. You're stealing things. um, but there's a couple articles that we'll look at here that kind of, I don't know. I guess it almost and not necessarily spins a different take on it, but it kind of does make you think of, I guess what people are willing to do, and should people do it or should they not, when it comes to piracy and in the terms of preservation. So yeah, let's get right into it. So on GameStop, and I'll put a link to the article down below. But games you should buy on PlayStation Network ASAP. So obviously this is in reference to the the announcement that was leaked initially and then was officially, uh, I guess announced by Sony that they are shutting down the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita stores. And I think that includes PSP. I actually, let's see. Oh yeah, so PS3, PSP, and PS Vita stores online for good. So then this game has a list here of games to pick up, and we'll go over a few of them. But yeah, so if you haven't heard, yeah, Sony announced they are shutting down those three stores. So if you own a PS3, a PSP, or a PS Vita, you go into their stores. Well, I guess you won't even be able to. I don't know if they'll take the icon away, or I guess they can't really take the icon away from your own console. But I'm gonna guess when you try to access it, it'll just give you an error. They may even put a message in there, hey, this store is shut down, blah blah blah. From I do believe they did put some stuff in here in there. Sony did announce a few things of if you have the games you already have, if you've already purchased them, you'll be able to like re-download them and things like that. But overall, yeah, you won't be able to buy anything new from the store. So in the terms of game preservation and digital preservation, it definitely took a lot of or the internet by storm. A lot of people were talking about it, making videos about it, that kind of thing. In a way, from a business standpoint, it does make sense that, I mean, hosting those servers that house those stores and that content, I'm gonna guess does mean, obviously, well, it does take money. In another aspect, though, I mean, Sony is a very large company, and this kind of stuff like that I mean, I'm sure they have looked at how much they're making, that kind of thing. But having things that aren't available anymore, in a lot of ways, there's just losing them money. So I'm sure they've looked at it and say, oh well, we'll save money either way, so they don't really care. But obviously, from of a consumer standpoint, it's a bad deal, because then these games you can't get anymore. And the first one I thought of when this happened is because I actually just barely downloaded it again, was on the PS3, and it was the Vandal Hearts Flames of Judgment. So it's a PlayStation Network exclusive on the PS3. You can only get it on the PS3. So I bought that not too long ago because I finished the first one on the PlayStation, and I wanted to play that one. So that was the first thing that came to mind. But there's tons of games that are on the exclusives on these three shops that you could sit there and name off. So a couple I did want to put up, or did want to make or highlight for the PSP, the Final Fantasy IV Complete Collection. Now that one, I mean, I do agree that this does say you should pick it up ASAP if you don't have it, because it it definitely is the most complete way to play the game, and I would say it's one of the best looking ways to play the game because you can see from that screenshot there, it's redone sprites. This one complete collection, so it has the after years, and I believe there's one like a one in between that kind of tells a little bit of a story in between the two games. But I mean, I'm actually playing it right now on my Vita, and man, it's just so good. It's such a good game in general. It's beautiful, beautiful game. The soundtrack is amazing. They have a rearrangement of the soundtrack in this one, and I mean, just a classic. One of the I mean, I would say one of the best Final Fantasies and one of the best in this genre. And then the other one, Final Fantasy as well, Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions. Now this one, I mean, if you can get on the PS1, just as good. But if not, this the War of the Lions is, I would say, the definitive edition, and just, I mean, it's a classic in every way possible. And this game is, I would say, damn near perfect. I mean, I love it. I play it all the time. I revisit it all the time, even if I don't go through the whole thing. Things like this, where you might not be able to find the Fantasy Tactics or Persona 3 Portable or Persona 4 Golden. You won't be able to find a lot of these games, in stores. And a lot of them, they didn't make them in stores. They didn't make a physical version for it. And so it's like, you're not going to be able to find these games almost anywhere. They're going to become the little Samsons of the gaming industry, where you're spending, you're in the triple digits. You spend hundreds of dollars, if not, depending on how good of a copy it is, thousands of dollars to be able to play a game. And so let's get back to, I guess, the task at hand of piracy and preservation. So this is where I do get when companies try to crack down on piracy, and they try to crack down on people, ripping games on and dumping games onto, I don't know, all sorts of sites, to ROM sites, whatever the case is. But, and like this Kotaku article, again, I'll put the link down below. So-called pirates are doing the work when publishers fail to preserve their games, and I mean, that title itself kind of says it all, and it's true.
Pursuing the right course demands an act of piracy. Piracy itself can be the right course.
I'm not going to fault anybody for wanting to preserve games. I mean, the internet is a beautiful thing, and it gives us infinite possibilities of things we can do, and the ability that someone can take these games that, I mean, obviously the world's a big place. There is so many people in the world that, a lot of people have a lot of these games that aren't going to be around anymore. And so, if we went the way that a lot of these companies do, mainly Sony and Nintendo to an extent, then some of these games we would never see again, except for the rare physical copies if they have them. And if they aren't physical, only the digital copies that they were sold in those stores. So once they go away, they're never again, and they don't care about it. I mean, obviously they care about the money. So the publishers that made them, I mean, sometimes they care, maybe, and if they do, they could port it to another console, which definitely happens quite a bit. But blessed are the people that are preserving this type of things, regardless if you think it's morally right or morally wrong. In a way, basically, they're keeping the past alive, and I would think this wholeheartedly, that I'm making a game because I want people to play that game. Obviously, yeah, making money would be great, but you're making something and you want people to experience it. Just like someone someone who writes a book. They're not writing a book I guess they probably are writing books to make money, but you're writing a book for people to read. You're making a movie for people to see, and games the same thing. You're making a game for people to play, and so preservation is, and I think is almost, I would say almost wholeheartedly, that it's one of the most important things in our world that should be put a lot more focus on than it is. It's something that, I mean, it's my entire job. My entire job that I do during the day revolves around preservation. For the company that I work for, it's either figuring out ways to preserve history of company, history of what people do, of what they create, and how to preserve it for long term, for as long as possible, for, I don't know, so these people, and like this article says, often it says the knee-jerk reaction I see this type of stuff is folks touting the superiority of physical media, which is true. Physical media obviously stands the test of time. I don't have NES games. You can go pop in NES and you can play them right now, and it's there. and it's perfect. The day and age we're in, the type of gaming we're in, it's almost not possible anymore because you even if you have a physical game, you put in there, and a lot of the time these games aren't they don't even have the full game on them, and you have to download a handful. But so when these servers and these services go down, you can't play it. It would make these games unplayable unless you already have that content downloaded. Um, and like this one says, physical games expensive, hard to access. Exactly like that case in point, Little Samson. I mean, I think it's rated to be one of the most expensive games on the NES, or ever on the NES. Um, but yeah, you know, small digital titles. It goes through a whole lot. It's a great article. I would read it. The big one that was in the spotlight was the Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where I think it was some licensing issues, and so they had to pull that game down, and it was on a digital only, and so until just the recent re-release, no, you couldn't play that game unless you had it downloaded already. And I don't know if anybody had already had it and they uploaded it online, pirated it. I honestly have no idea. I never looked. But it really comes into, and this is why people give ROMs bad name. The ISO dumps, all that. They give it a bad rap. Nintendo is infamous for shutting down ROM sites and shutting down all this stuff. Protecting their intellectual property, which again, it's a company. I understand. It's a company to make money. When it comes down to it, that's really all they care about. They couldn't be there if they didn't make money. So it does make sense. But also, I mean, a lot of these the ROM sites, the ISO sites, it's and I guess this would be a contested topic of, does it hurt anything? And in a lot of ways, I don't think it does. Depending on how you want to look at it. But when you really look at it as, no one is gonna make money really by you. If you download an NES ROM, no one is losing money on that ROM, especially right now. So a lot of these older games, like, I mean, I guess the only person that would be losing money is if you happen to find a physical copy and you you bought it, so that reseller would lose money. Sure. um, but yeah, so I don't know. It's an interesting topic, but it's one that, I mean, I think about quite a bit, and I think about just the way the world is going. We're going more into the digital era, and it's getting more and more prevalent. Case in point is the PS5, digital or yeah digital console, and the Xbox Series S, which is one I have as well, or have one that again doesn't have a disc drive, so can only have digital content. And yeah, it's one that it's probably never going to go away, on both sides. I mean, you're never going to be able to get away from, I guess they'd be the moral dilemma, how it is. And, granted, pirating games that are brand new, some that you still have easy access to, like PS4 games, obviously any of the new console generations, even as stuff as like the Wii games, Wii U, Xbox 360, a lot of this stuff you can get readily available, on both, if the stores are still open, and if there is a lot of physical media and it's not that expensive. So in that way, I think a lot, that's the piracy, it gets into the morally black area, I guess you could say. But any of this older stuff, because preservationists, that basically want to keep these games alive, I think it's important. I think it's important to, even if you don't participate in it, you're not, either you don't know how to, you dumping these games online, sharing them online, that kind of thing. It's something that, the world needs to figure out, and, with these companies that really don't care, Microsoft is the only one that really cares about game preservation, and with what they're doing, their backwards compatibility, bringing a lot of these games into the new era, is amazing. It's perfect, and it's exactly what these companies should do. Like with Sony, I mean, I'm pretty sure, who was it, Jim Ryan? I'm pretty sure they've come out and just straight out say that they don't care. Like, who wants to play older games? But when you really think about it, and this is what I'll end with, that new games take a long time to make. Like in a lot of ways, you're not having a ton of games come out all the time. At least like big titles that these companies have a lot to do with. Third party, they're pumping out games all the time. The Nintendo eShop is, tons of games come out I don't know about every day, but every week. So like, but a lot of these big games that really are going to stand the test of time, they don't come out very often. So it's like you get one, you play it, you finish it, and then really you're not going to or well, a lot of the time you're not gonna have a lot to that's brand new to play all the time. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to backlog. You're gonna go to your older games, and a lot of the time it is very old games. I mean, I usually switch off between playing something new, PS5, my Switch, the Series S, to usually going to like my DS and and playing a game on that I have downloaded, or going get I put up or turn on my Vita quite a bit, and like I was saying earlier, I'm playing the Final Fantasy IV, the complete edition. So it's it's one that the attitude that, oh, who wants to play older games, is I think is very flawed, and I think of the large majority of gamers play older games quite a bit. The big thing is the Fortnites and the Call of Duties that are the ever running games that it has a massive following, but a lot of gamers are going to do some of these older stuff. And Microsoft, good on you. Sony, I mean, honestly, you're dropping the ball, and I honestly think in the end it's going to come back to bite you like hardcore. Nintendo I think Nintendo's in the middle ground. They have their NES Online, their Super Nintendo Online. Every console, it does seem like they have at least attempted to do some old stuff. So they are keeping some things alive, and so can't really fault them for that. They definitely are hard on ROM sites, but we can't have everything in life, and that is what preservationists are for. And you know what? Keep up the good work. If you are one of those, I mean, don't stop if you possibly can. Let's keep our history and our gaming history alive. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know why. And yeah, older games. If you do play a lot, what are your favorites to play? My go-tos, like I probably mentioned quite a bit, Final Fantasies, Tactics, 4, 6, Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, any RPG in general. But hit the subscribe button if you haven't down below, and the bell icon, because it'll let you know when new videos come up. And yeah, be on the watch out. Probably the next video is I'm gonna start start the giveaway. It's probably due. I've been trying to figure out how to do it because I've never done one before. So gonna start that. And again, it's only well, it'll finish and it'll happen, I guess, when we hit 50 subscribers. So we are so close. We're 7 away as of this video, but yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.